When you really stop and think about it, our story is absolutely wild. How did we go from scattered hunter-gatherers, just another species on the planet, to this, a global civilization of billions, connected by technology, ideas, and, well, a whole lot of history? It's a story of some truly radical ideas, some pretty bold experiments, and a few key inventions that literally changed everything. So, let's dive in. So, that's the big question, right? How did we, Homo sapiens, pull it off? How did we become the dominant species on Earth? The short answer is a single, powerful concept: civilization. But what does that word really mean? It's more than just buildings and roads. It's a whole set of ideas we invented to live together. And to really get a feel for this, just look at this timeline. For almost our entire existence, hundreds of thousands of years, we were nomads. Cities, writing, organized societies, all of that is incredibly recent. We're talking about the last few thousand years. The acceleration has been just staggering. Civilization, in the grand scheme of things, is a brand new experiment. So what was the spark? What was that first domino that set this whole thing in motion? Well, it wasn't a king or a conqueror. It was an idea, a really simple but world-changing one: agriculture. See, once we figured out how to grow our own food, like they did in Mesopotamia with wheat and barley, we didn't have to wander anymore. For the first time, we could stay put. And that allowed us to build permanent communities that just grew and grew and grew. A place like the city of Uruk with over 50,000 people, that was unimaginable just a few generations earlier. It was a total game changer. Okay, so you've got thousands of people living in one place. That's great. But it brings up a massive new problem. How do you keep things from falling into chaos? How do you create order? Well, different groups came up with very different answers. Let's take the Indus Valley civilization in what's now Pakistan. They had a really unique, and you might say surprisingly modern approach to this whole problem. They focused on sanitation. Seriously, they built these incredibly advanced systems with toilets, underground drainage, and waste treatment. Their version of order wasn't about building giant monuments. It was about public health. They understood that a clean city was a healthy city, and a healthy city was a stable one. Now, at the same time, you've got the Egyptians. And their priorities? A little different. Their entire society was organized around one massive goal: making sure their god-king, the pharaoh, had a successful trip to the afterlife. All that energy, all those resources went into building colossal pyramids and tombs, a totally different vision for what holds a society together. And then you get to Babylon, where King Hammurabi unleashes another revolutionary tool for social control. This one wasn't about plumbing or pyramids, it was about words, carved into a giant stone pillar for everyone to see, the world's first comprehensive legal code. And it was brutally straightforward. We've all heard the phrase, an eye for an eye. And yeah, it comes directly from this code. The principle was simple. The punishment had to fit the crime. It created this clear, if kind of harsh, system of justice. No more guessing. The rules were right there, set in stone. But here's the catch. Justice wasn't blind. Not at all. The law treated people very differently depending on who you were. If a noble hurt a noble, it was bone for a bone. But if a noble hurt a slave, he just had to pay a fine. So while it created order, it was an order built on a pretty rigid social hierarchy. All right, so civilizations are getting organized. We've got food, we've got laws, we've got some kind of order. But then a new, much deeper question starts to bubble up. What's the point of all this? Are we just here to work and follow the rules? What does it all mean? This quest for meaning took a lot of different forms. In India, you have the incredible story of Siddhartha Gautama. He was a prince, totally sheltered from the world. But one day, he sees real human suffering for the first time, and it just shatters his reality. He gives up everything, his palace, his wealth, to find an answer. And after years of searching, he sits down under a tree, meditates, and achieves enlightenment, becoming the Buddha. And over in China, around the same time, you have brilliant thinkers coming up with their own answers. Philosophies like Confucianism and Taoism emerged, and they offered different roadmaps to living a good, purposeful life. Confucianism was all about social harmony and your duty to others, while Taoism was about finding balance with the natural world. Okay, so societies have laws, they're searching for meaning, but there's another huge question they have to figure out. Who gets to be in charge? Who gets to rule? Now, the ancient Athenians came up with one of the wildest answers in history, democracy. But forget everything you think you know about that word. Their version was different. Instead of electing most of their leaders, they often chose them completely at random, by lottery. That's right, a lottery. The process is called sortition. The thinking was that any citizen was capable of governing, and picking them at random was the best way to prevent corruption and stop a powerful elite from taking over. It was chaotic, it was radical, and to them, it was the definition of fair. But, as you can imagine, not everyone was a fan of this idea. The philosopher Plato thought it was insane. He argued that ruling is a skill, just like being a ship's captain. You wouldn't choose a captain by lottery, would you? You want the person who actually knows how to navigate. Plato believed society should be led by its wisest and most capable people, not by random chance. So as all these different civilizations grew bigger, stronger, and more organized, something was bound to happen. They started bumping into each other, which leads to the next big question. What happens when these worlds collide? Well, sometimes the result was surprisingly peaceful. After this massive, bloody battle where neither side could win, the two superpowers of the day, the Egyptians and the Hittites, basically just got tired of fighting. They realized war was getting them nowhere. So in 1258 BCE, they signed the world's first known peace treaty, kicking off an era of diplomacy and trade. But yeah, more often, the outcome was war. You have the epic Greco-Persian Wars, the gigantic Persian Empire trying to swallow up a bunch of scrappy little Greek city-states. And these battles weren't just about land. They were a clash of ideas, of competing visions for how the world should be run. The outcome of those wars really did shape the future for centuries to come. Now, all of this might seem like ancient history, right? Dust and ruins. But it's not. These ancient civilizations, with all their strange and brilliant ideas, laid the foundations of the world we're all living in right now. I mean, think about it. Agriculture gave us permanent cities. The need for order gave us everything from plumbing and legal codes to social hierarchies. Our search for purpose gave us world religions and philosophies. Our arguments about power gave us different models of government. And our interactions, both peaceful and violent, are what created our interconnected world. All these things started then. Every one of those ancient solutions, a law code, a new philosophy, a form of government, was a radical world-changing idea at the time. They built their world with them. Which leaves us with a pretty huge question to think about. What are the radical new ideas that are building ours right now?